Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the NBA Front Office Show. Happy Monday. A lot going on around the NBA world for us to get into. Before we do, make sure you do subscribe to the channel. If you haven't subscribed yet on YouTube, hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications as well, and do us a favor and like this video, which could certainly help us out. Keith, busy weekend for me, some traveling. But I'm excited to be back here and ready to talk about. Man, we've got a lot of topics to get into today.
Yeah, there was quite a bit of stuff came out over the weekend, and nothing that's like imminent or anything. People, it's funny how the NBA works. Like we're almost a month in now, and people are starting to get antsy. They're like, "When are we going to see trades?" And it's like,
It's
not
not
yet.
really
You
the
got at
season.
least a month to go, like
Yeah.
probably, before you see something, maybe even a couple months, like sometime end of December, early January, we get one or two. But yeah, it's very funny that we have people with that. Not a show topic, but I just want to drop about the Cavs. They made it to
They
15-0,
did it.
going into Boston on Tuesday, undefeated. Well, what a great early season matchup, right?
Yeah.
Cavs, we just that should be a fun one. I'm really excited. We've got I wanted to get that in there because we've got a Celtics story to get to in a little bit, but we don't have a Cavs topic, so I want to make sure we recognize that. What an incredible run they are on to open the season.
Yeah, absolutely. Who is it that gets the game? Is it TNT? Yeah, TNT gets that. They've got to be thrilled. Yes, it is TNT. They've got to be thrilled that they're getting that game with the Cavs undefeated, right? It just adds a little bit an extra layer to the game with the Cavs being unbeaten right now. But speaking of TNT, see, look at that. I'm a professional. Inside, that's right. Inside the NBA, going to ESPN. Keith, I'm glad we're not losing inside the NBA. This is going to be interesting how they're doing it. It sounds like they kind of traded in order to get inside the NBA on like some college games and stuff, went over to TNT in exchange, and somehow both companies are going to be producing the show. Kind of like TNT is still going to kind of run things, but ESPN is also going to have their hand. I don't know. We'll see how that works. Sounds like you're going to have two people driving the same car, and each of them with one hand on the same steering wheel. Hopefully, it all works out okay, and they just say, just don't mess with anything. Leave the show as is. We're just changing the channel that it's on, and at least from the viewer's experience, that's the way this all lands.
Is that like the driver's ed car where the instructor has the wheel and the brake on their
and
side?
The brake on their side,
just in case all goes sideways.
Do they still do that? Is that how it's still set up? It's been so long, I have no idea.
Trevor, I will let you know in about a year or so when our daughter will be will be going for a license, which is utterly terrifying and sad for me and everything else all at once. But yeah, it's so basically the idea here is the TNT show that we know it inside the NBA will basically stay the same show. It's going to be made in Atlanta, produced by the same people for Warner Brothers Discovery, and then they are licensing it to ESPN. Now, when ESPN will use it, we don't know. What night are they going to put it on? Is it going to be every night? How's it going to work? We don't really know, but it does sound like it's going to be all the same guys. And I saw a lot of reaction like, they better not put this person on there and that person.
I saw that.
I don't think you're going to see that because that would mean them being in Atlanta a lot more. And I get it. These people are, very rich and they could get to Atlanta very easily and get back to where they need to be. But I think you're going to see it basically stay what it is. ESPN does some stuff, but they're generally pretty good at saying, hey, if something's really working, we're going to leave it alone. Like I think about the college game day format for college football. That's worked for years, and they've pretty much said, yeah, let's just keep it the same with what it is. So I think you're if you love inside the NBA, hopefully this will be the same group. There are a couple other nuggets that were buried within this story. NBA TV will continue to exist. Warner Brothers Discovery is going to continue to kind of run that arm of the NBA with that. So that presumably says they'll continue to broadcast games. Now, there are less nights available. Right now, there's only like 3 nights, or there are like 3 or 4 nights a week that aren't covered by a national game. I think in the future, there's only like 1 or 2. So we'll see what that looks like with NBA TV. But, that good or bad, depending on how people view that. A lot of times they still just pick up whatever the broadcast is from one of the teams involved with that. And then, like you said, there's a bunch of other rights moving around. There were some NASCAR rights, I guess, and some other stuff. And then for TNT, it's also big. They're going to still be allowed to use NBA highlights and NBA material on like Bleacher Report, House of Highlights, all their social media and web arms, which is big for them because that's, maybe not for the average NBA viewer, but it's big for them as a company wise to not have to then pay the NBA for that material. So,
Sure.
Interesting, resolution to what could have been a pretty nasty settlement. And now nobody will ever find out exactly how many people are really watching these games and paying for them and all the other stuff because they kept it all out of the court records.
Yes, that's another thing. I was kind of looking forward to finding out, but I get why the powers that be would not want that. Okay,
Yeah.
let's jump over here. We're gonna go from Atlanta over to Houston, which is a flight I've made many times. Rockets, it always seems to be like they're hubs, so you wind up just bouncing. They'll kick you one place, go to another. Anyway, Rockets.
I don't think I could fly from Orlando to Tampa without flying through Atlanta somehow. Like it's basically possible.
Right.
Not that they would ever fly from Orlando to Tampa. I would just
which is super.
shoot
it's
over.
Always the most annoying thing when you're looking at the map and you're like, wait, I got to fly all the way over here so I can go back over there. That doesn't make any sense.
But the
way it goes.
We've all done it.
Yep. All right. Rockets trade rumors. Yeah. One time flying back from Florida out to the West Coast, I had to fly up to New Jersey first. Like, what? Why is this happening? Anyway, terrible airport there, by the way. Rockets trade rumors. So the Rockets are a team that's been rumored to be very much in the mix should a star become available. They're a team that wants to take the next step. They are already finding success so far this season. It's extremely early, so nothing to, get too excited over necessarily, or it's, to get too high or too low here. But the Rockets right now, plus 8.5 in terms of point differential, and they are right now the number 3 seed with a 10-4 record in the Western Conference. Get excited about it. Don't get me wrong. Just saying we have a long way to go. Rockets fans definitely get. You should be excited about the start of the season, the way it's gone so far. But just a long way to go for Houston. But they are a team that is rumored to be in the mix for pretty much any star that could become available. We've heard them connected to Jimmy Butler, now Giannis Antetokounmpo. But Keith, apparently there's a few players that they would not be willing to trade. I would have to imagine though, like if it's really Giannis, like they'll probably come off of their these guys aren't going to get moved. Thoughts?
Yeah, this report came from Mark Stein, who does his news chatter, mailbag, notebook dump, whatever you want to call it, on Sundays usually. And he had in there, like, if Giannis becomes available with the requisite note, which everybody puts in of there's no sense he is, and it's only going to be if he asks, and all the other caveats we've all been putting on it. But that expect the Rockets to be a bidder. And part of that idea was they're really interested in looking at picking up a star. And also Giannis has a great relationship and connection to Hakeem Olajuwon, who still does like a lot of private workouts and trainings with players, but is still very connected to the Houston Rockets. So that was one of the ideas there that Stein posited why the Rockets, because let's face it, if Giannis is available, it's not just that Giannis is like, I want to trade. He's going to have some say in where he goes. Because if he's going to turn around, those teams are like, let's say it was like, I don't want to go to, I don't know, the Lakers, because that would never be a thing. But if he said that, like it would be, if he ever did come out and say that, well, then Lakers wouldn't trade for him because that doesn't make sense, right? Because you're just going to have to turn around and trade him again. So that would be, something we wouldn't see happen. So why not, leverage Olajuwon as a recruiting tool if you're trying to get Giannis? I get it. And now the 2 players that are reportedly off limits in trade talks are Amen Thompson and Tari Eason. But I'm with you. We start talking Giannis, KD, maybe Jimmy Butler. That might be a little bit of a different story.
Yeah, I wouldn't. Jimmy Butler, I'd definitely have guys off limits for.
Yeah, I would. But Giannis, KD, I'm probably gonna say, okay, you want one of the 2 of them, or if really we had to give you both, all right, I can probably swing that as well. I might try to go with a couple other guys just in case. See if, hey, you got a little more interest in maybe a Jabari Smith Jr. or one of the other players, then maybe we go that way. But it's you can't keep stuff off the table in superstar talks. That's just not
Right.
really how it works.
Exactly, and that's why I would have to imagine, if it is Giannis, they would consider that. But they're a team to keep an eye on. There's and Keith, what I love is there's a lot of teams this year, I think, to really keep an eye on the trade market that have real motive to either get better or get worse, or I think there's a lot of teams that are going to fit pretty squarely in that buyer or seller category this season. But the Rockets seem to be wanting to position themselves as a buyer now. Do you? I guess that leads us all to this. Do you buy their early record here? The 10-4. We look at who they've played. The game they've lost. I mean, crazy as it is, they've lost to Charlotte and San Antonio, two teams you think they would beat. They lost to Golden State. No shame in that. They've been great. They lost to OKC. No shame in that. You could say they've had a light schedule. Maybe. I mean, the Clippers have not been an easy win for anybody. They beat them twice in a row. Yep. But you've got Chicago. You've got Washington. They beat Detroit. But only but Detroit's been more difficult this season. I don't know. How much do you buy the Rockets as a let's say playoff team, not play-in team in the West?
Kinda buy it, I guess, is the best way to put that.
Such a vote of confidence.
I know, right? I think they're a little out over what I would have expected. Like, if they were more like 8-6, I'd feel a little all right. That feels a little more right. I had them, just a few games over 500 in the West. Now we have a few games over 500. I still had them as the 11th seed in the Western Conference and missing out on the play-in tournament. Now, this was obviously a month ago before the season. I would have them now comfortably ahead of New Orleans, and maybe another team or two would have to really think about it. But yeah, it's tough because, when you look at that schedule, Dallas pretty good. They beat them. Golden State overtime loss. They beat the Knicks, and that Knicks game was not as close as 12 points either. They took care of them pretty easily. But after that, it's a bunch of games where you probably should win. Like Clippers games at home, that's kind of a toss-up game, and they won both of them, so those are good. But I will say this, it's a sign of maturity and growth that they are winning these games.
Yeah.
So that is, that's important because you're going to hit a point where you play a bunch of good teams in a row, and maybe you come out of that a game or two under 500. That doesn't kill you as much if you're winning all the other games that you should be winning. So that, great start for Houston. I don't want to take anything away, even if I think they're maybe a little bit out ahead of where I really think they are as a team.
Sure. Yeah, no. I mean, you have to bank the wins that you can while you can. So important that you stack up the wins that are there for you. And they've done a really nice job doing that, in addition to picking up a few wins that maybe they shouldn't have. Should you have lost opening night to Charlotte? Probably not. You needed to find a way to win that one. Maybe you look back at a loss to San Antonio and say, well, maybe that one stings a little bit. But again, they're tougher this season than they have been in the past. So overall, great start to the season for the Houston Rockets. And maybe they do look to add that piece that puts them over the top. Keith, good news for the Celtics.
Let me say this with the Rockets before we move to this next topic. That Bulls game yesterday, Sunday, that was every bit as bad as 36 points.
Oh my
God.
More
more felt like they were up by like 100. Like the Bulls that game was disgusting. Like they absolutely came out and just dominated in Chicago. We don't have as a topic, Josh Giddey now 2 games in a row for the Bulls. First one, he basically came out. They asked him like, hey, are you upset about not being in the closing lineup? Because the Bulls have played a lot of close games.
Yeah.
And Giddey was like, no, I'm not playing good enough on defense. Very, very candidly was like, if I can't defend, I can't be out there in key moments. Like it was it sucks that he has to recognize it, but it's great that he does. And was like, yeah, I can't play out there. Then they asked him yesterday, they were like, so what's going on? He's like, we're not doing anything to start these games well. Again, defensively, like we're allowing too much. And the Rockets are good, but the Rockets aren't 143 points good. If anything, they lean the other way where they're better on the defensive side. So just, something to think about a little bit there.
Well, Chicago currently sitting as the 11th seed in the East. They have Detroit tonight. Detroit, the number 5 seed in the East right now, Keith. Go figure. But but Chicago, I mean, when I talk about teams being squarely in the buyer or seller category, Like you drop this game tonight, and obviously we still have a ways to go. December 15th, not necessarily a the official start necessarily of trades. A lot of people look at it as though, oh, December 15th is here. A lot of trades are going to go down. That's not really the way it works. But if the Bulls stay down, like they already have incentive, but if they're to move pieces, I think that incentive is only going to grow, especially if you wind up dropping your games to like Detroit, to some of these other clubs. They will be firmly in the seller column.
Yeah, without a doubt. Yeah, and we'll get to another team in a minute or so.
Yes, absolutely. Okay. Kristaps Porzingis, good news for the Celtics, ramping up. We haven't seen him play yet this season. What's the timeline look like there? Is it are we weeks away? A week away? Where are we at?
I'd still say more on the weeks side, but probably not month away. Like it might be somewhere between 2 to 4 weeks. I'm thinking now.
Before Christmas.
I think I would put Christmas as like the latest end of his return.
Okay.
I think we might actually see him a week or two before that. I think what's happening now, Celtics fans have seen this, especially the ones that are in the arena. He's been traveling with the team to all their games, which is always a pretty good sign that like a guy's getting closer to returning. And what's happened is we have seen that get in a position where he's also doing pretty intense on-court workouts before the games. And fans have sometimes seen it because sometimes it's still going when they're coming in the building, and the media have obviously seen it. And he's, really getting after it on court. And that's been really kind of fun to see with him, because you could see like, all right, he's moving pretty good. Like things must be getting close. Then we get the update from the team today. What they're doing today is Maine is actually practicing in Boston in the Auerbach Center, which is the Celtics practice facility. So what the Celtics did was, which is becoming very commonplace, they assigned Porzingis for the day to the G League. So he goes down and practices with the G League team.
I love that.
A little wrinkle, they assigned Xavier Tillman too, which why they did this was Tillman's not getting a ton of run right now with the Celtics. So one of the things that they're doing is assigning Tillman to give Porzingis an NBA guy to go against in practice. And Tillman's like, yeah, I'll go down and do it, which is pretty cool because he doesn't have to do that. Right. So that's pretty cool of him to be a good teammate
because of his veteran status.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. He could say no. Yeah. Anybody who's got 4 or more years in the NBA can be like, nah, I'm not going. So good for him to say, yeah, I'll go. And that just kind of backs up everything we've ever heard about Xavier Tillman, both in Boston and Memphis. This guy's just one of the all-time teammates in the NBA. So I think, I think it's pretty exciting stuff for Boston that Porzingis is close enough that he's going to go through. This sounds like it's going to be a pretty scrimmage-heavy type workout, and that's great for the Celtics. That means he's got to be getting close.
Yeah, they don't. If you're not getting close, they don't let you do stuff like this. They don't let you do that type of thing. And also, it's cool seeing the G League become, as the years go by, even more and more closer to, I don't think it ever gets to a full MLB style, like I guess never say never, but sure. Seeing it utilized in this way as a place where players who are on the mend can go get some reps in, go get some practice in, because you know what, people often don't, especially if you're not a diehard, like every single day. Let's face it, most of the people listening to the show fall more in the diehard category.
Sure.
But if you're not, a lot of people don't realize how rarely NBA teams actually practice. Once the season gets started, most teams, like if there's a game Monday and a game Wednesday, they don't do a full, like they'll do film sessions, but they don't do a full practice on, say, Tuesday. It's like 2 days in a row off that you need to get a practice in. Otherwise, it's very rare that they practice on that day off between a game because they want to give guys a chance to rest and recover. So there oftentimes aren't that many opportunities to, can't Porzingis just practice with the team? They don't have that many practices, actually. So having the G League there to be able to get into these types of sessions, it's a real benefit. And it's just been cool to see this become a big thing. Like if this was like 10 years ago, people would be making a big deal. Oh my gosh, he
Oh
got sent
yeah,
down
they
to the
sent him
G League and
down.
all of it, right? And it's not now. It's just like, oh yeah, yep, he's
Yep,
rehabbing. That's just
yep.
it's the way it goes, and it's a cool transition to see.
Yeah, and I do wonder. We may get to a point eventually down the line, especially as the talent continues to improve in the G League, where you may see it. Say we're assigning him to the G League to play a game or
Yeah.
two. The Orlando Magic actually did that with Jonathan Isaac a couple years ago when he was working his way back. They assigned him down to playing games because they wanted it. Part of it was they knew we need him to actually play they were playing him kind of on this weird like minute pattern, whereas like he's going to play 3 minutes and sit for 5 and then play 3 minutes, which doesn't really lend itself to anything you would ever do in the NBA because it was just going to be too hard to do. But in the G League, that's part of what it's for. It's to do different things. So they sent him down. That's when the Magic G League team was still in Lakeland. They've now moved over to Osceola County, closer to Orlando. But when they put him down there, it was a big event. Like a lot of people were like, "Hey, cool! Like we're gonna go." So I don't expect Porzingis to do that because I think Boston will be like, "All right, hey, you're ready? Great, plug him back in." This is also a guy who has, unfortunately, a lot of experience coming back from injuries, so he'll know like, "All right, I'm ready. Throw me back in an NBA lineup." But we're getting close. Like that's the big thing for Celtics fans, which I know they're going to be very excited because they're off to a good start. They're 10-3, but there's been a lot of people who are like, we want to see what the team looks like this year when they're kind of, when the Death Star, if you will, is fully operational.
Sure. I'm so glad you associated them with evil like that, Keith. That was very well done.
That was for you.
Thank you. So John Morant says he will return soon. That's good. That's just great.
Yeah.
I know, like Memphis, if the Pelicans weren't like already just erased with injuries, like we'd be talking a lot more about Memphis and how banged up they already are. Like, and this is after last season got destroyed with injuries, but it's great news for the Grizzlies, obviously, that John Morant will be back. He's such a dynamic player. This is great for the NBA though too. You need this guy on the floor. He's so exciting. You're always a split second away from an insane highlight that you'll never see anywhere else. That's the kind of player that he is. So exciting that he did respond. I think it was on social media, right? He responded to somebody and said he'll be back soon.
Yeah, Memphis media member basically was making the comment of because they got Desmond Bain back over the weekend, they've got Marcus Smart back, like their guys are coming back, and I think that tweet was something along the lines of, "Now we just need a positive John Morant injury update," like, and then it's like, let's go because the Grizzlies are 8-6, like they're playing good. Well, right? They're more than hanging in there right now. And then Morant actually replied to that tweet and said something like "sooner than you think." Which was what it was. So that sounds like, all right, maybe we're getting closer. And that's good because that was a pretty scary fall that he took. And it just looked a little weird. So hopefully he's healing up and, get him back out there. And that's, again, another team. I can't wait to see them full go too with their whole crew together. Cause that's that team is deep, man. Oh, Vince Williams Jr. That's the other guy who came back. Just in the last couple of games too. So, we're really with Memphis. Like they're there now. They're we're ready to go. So I'm excited to see them full go as well.
And they crushed the Denver Nuggets, who were without Jokic, but Memphis, made short work of them. So I think they're going to be a really good team. I think they're going to be good. They've already, and to their credit, like you said, they didn't just get steamrolled when Ja went out. They found ways to hang in there, to win enough games, and now they're right in the mix. They're getting healthier, and I think they are definitely going to, as long as they can stay healthy, which you never know, fingers crossed, but I think they're definitely going to be a team on the rise.
Yeah, without a doubt.
All right, Keith, the Lakers just announced a little bit ago that they will be creating a Pat Riley statue to honor their legendary coach, former broadcaster turned coach, that they will be honoring him with a statue in front of Crypto.com Arena. Have to imagine that after a Pat Riley statue, there'll probably be a Phil Jackson one on the way, I would assume. But they're going to go with a Pat Riley statue. Keith, the response I've seen from Lakers fans has been two things. Number one, they've been saying, great, this is fantastic. We love Pat Riley, right? Obviously, he's very associated with the Miami Heat now, but he was a big part of the Showtime Lakers, which is a big part of the way the NBA is today and why it is the league that it is today, the Lakers Celtics rivalry in the 80s. But number two, the comment has been, please, please, please make it look like Pat Riley. Just make it actually look like Pat Riley. Let's not do the Dwayne Wade statue all over again. Please.
They've done pretty good, right, with their statues.
For the most part, yes.
They've done well. Being good. So I know there were typos on the Kobe statue, but I know they've already fixed those, and that's kind of is what it is. But yeah, he at least looked like Kobe, right? And that was good from that extent, right? Like that was
Keith. If the Pat Riley statue doesn't wind up looking like Pat Riley, like how everybody says that the Dwayne Wade statue looks like Lawrence Fishburne.
Yeah.
Who would the Pat Riley statue wind up looking like?
That's a good question.
If it doesn't look like Pat Riley, who would like I think the slick back hair. I mean, I guess it could become Gordon Gekko.
Oh, who it could look like? Like Ed O'Neill when he was in Married with Children, because he had kind of the slick back hair. That'd be kind of funny. Like that'd be the bad version, like the really like oh no version. So
I got it. I've got one. I like that one. That's a good one. I've got it. Do you remember Mighty Ducks 2?
Yeah.
When Gordon Bombay, when he gets like into the advertising and he wants the Air Bombay loafer for kids who want to coach and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. And he slicks his hair back like that. That he could wind up looking like Emilio Estevez trying to do a Pat Riley impression if it doesn't turn out right. God, like please, like just make it look like Pat Riley.
I'm gonna guess Pat Riley in real life probably has a minimum of 6 to 8 inches in height on Emilio Estevez.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah,
absolutely.
What other statues do they have? Because they have the Shaq one, right?
Yeah, they've got Shaq. They've got the 2 Kobe statues. I'll tell you the one that I really like is the Chick Hearn one that's out in front. That's a really cool one. Let's see who else they have. I think they've got
to be a Magic one.
There's a Magic one. The Magic one is really cool. Did they do the Jerry West one?
Yeah, I would imagine
it's coming.
Kareem and Jerry West.
There's the Kareem one.
Probably,
there's the Kareem one.
Maybe?
Yeah, I think there's an Elgin Baylor. Gosh, I'm trying to remember what they've got. They've got the Jerry West. They've got Kareem. They've got Magic. They've got Chick. They've got Shaq. There is the Elgin Baylor. I think that's it.
Okay. Yeah, I mean,
and of course the Kobe ones. I mean, we mentioned those ones off top, but that's a lot of statues.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. It is interesting too. Like it's funny because people have asked like, why are there not more statues like around like TD Garden where the Celtics play? And the easy answer is they don't own the building, and they are not like. It's not that they have a bad relationship with the Bruins owners who own the building, but like the Bruins owners aren't going to be like, do that. Plus, if you ever saw where it is, it literally TD Garden sits above a train station. So it's not like there's not like a ton of like outside space for stuff like that. And basically anybody I ever know who goes to TD Garden, like your outside as little as possible before you're in the building. Like it's also not a place you go and hang out. Like you're not hanging out outside there for the vast majority of basketball season because it's just too cold and you would not want to be outside. So yeah, it's man, that's good though. Like I think that's Pat Riley obviously well earned. With that is everything he's meant to the Lakers.
Sure.
There and everything. So and also like wasn't even really ever really supposed to kind of be their coach. If you read some of the history on it, was more like. He was like, well, I want to do something. And then they ended up getting rid of the other coach. Like, all right, it's going to be you now. And then off he went with it. So
there was like the most, if you ever go back and watch it, the press conference when Dr. Boss introduced Pat Riley as the coach, it was like the most awkward press conference you'll ever see because he announced that like Jerry West was going to be, I think he called him like the offensive coach or something, and Pat Riley was going to coach it. And then there was like uncertainty of, wait, who is the coach? And then they're like, let me be clear. Pat Riley is going to coach. It was really, and you could tell like the guys like Pat Riley, Jerry West, they were both like, Okay, like neither one of them knew exactly what was going.
Yep.
It was a mess. It was a mess of a press conference, but obviously it all worked out.
Yep, without a doubt.
Okay, the Nets say they don't like the word tanking. Sean Marks said, and they are not tanking. They are trying to win games. The play and Keith, this is for as much as we talk about tanking teams. Front offices tank, players don't tank, players play hard, players play to win because it doesn't make sense for them to tank. But front offices will make moves to, and maybe the word tank is not one that they like to use, but they'll try to take a step back, let's say, in order to regroup or rebuild for the future. But Sean Marks says, hey, we're letting the chips fall where they may. We're going to try to compete every night, and we'll let whatever happens. I still I think they're going to be a seller on the market. I think that's pretty well known. But still, they say they aren't, quote, tanking.
Yeah, and after a pretty good start to the season where they're unexpectedly playing really well, they've now dropped back. They've lost 3 straight, I think it is. They've slipped. I want to say they are.
They're the 10 seed now.
Yeah, they're 5-9 in the conference, so they're starting to be a little bit more what we expect. And the reality is, they did not trade. And Sean Marks' comment, one of the things he said was, "Hey, if these guys win too many games that we're not happy with our draft pick, that's a good thing. You didn't trade for your own pick back to be good, not in this draft." Not in the Cooper Flag draft, right? Like that's like not where you want to be. So yeah, I think we're definitely in a spot where we're starting to see that kind of go where we want. And what happens now is if you start losing some of these games without openly like, hey, Dennis Schroeder is out tonight with back spasms and all the other things they make up. If you just are losing these games, that makes it easier then to be like, all right, see, so we are bad. Now we can trade some of these guys versus it's very hard if you're winning games early to then like pull that rug out from under the fans and be like, sorry, too bad. Now I think Nets fans are smart enough to be like, no, please, for the love of God, would you stop winning games? We want Cooper Flag. Like we're trying to capture the flag here. And that's why like Utah fans have been generally like, all right, sure, whatever, bottom this thing out. So it's going to come. But I respect the attitude from Sean Marks of like, hey, we're not trying to lose. Like we're gonna go out there, we're gonna play really hard, and we'll kind of let it come out whatever way it comes out. And that to me is the best way to approach it. Play really hard, be in games, lose, and that's okay. That's been kind of a foundation for a lot of teams to then turn around and become good in the end.
It's also publicly probably the best. Even if internally they're like, oh man, we need to lose some games. You can't come out and say that. You can't come out and say, hey, we really want to lose games, because all that's going to happen, let's say you do plan to be aggressive on the trade front or be active in the trade front at all, which should be every team. Every team should be active and at least having conversations. If it's out there that, oh yeah, they really want to lose, they need to get some of these guys off the team, that's not going to help them in trade negotiations at all. They need to be saying, oh, no, we're totally fine with winning. These guys are great. These guys are awesome. And no, we definitely don't want to trade them. So if you're going to offer us anything for them, you better offer a lot. Right? Like that needs to be, whether or not people buy it, that has to be their stance. And we have seen some teams take a more, straightforward and honest approach and things like that. But in general, I think this has to be what you put out there publicly. And I'm not saying he's lying either. I think that probably is really their approach. Just saying you can't really come out and say the opposite. You can't really come out and say, yeah, we really wish these guys would suck a lot more than this and just lose some games for us. You can't do that.
No, well, and you want them to play well so that people are interested in trading for them, right? Like that's where you would like, hey, play well enough that people will go acquire you. Like that's absolutely what you want. So, yeah, this is not to overly quote the Mandalorian, but this is the way, right? Like this is the way. This is how you move it forward.
All right, let's jump over. Keith, you've got some OKC transactions going on.
Yeah, so Oklahoma City, obviously, we know they need size, right? Like they have taken a beating with their interior center depth with Chet Holmgren down, joins Hartenstein, joins Jalen Williams, the bigger of the ones. The other Jalen Williams, the small one, is now playing center. So they made a couple moves. They waived Malevi Leons, who had been there. He was their kind of second guy to come through after Alex Reese, and they signed Brandon Carlson. Carlson was playing for the Raptors G League team. Recently ons are like 6'8", 9, 6'8", 6'9" centers who are kind of, they can masquerade as fours a little bit. Carlson is or masquerade as fives rather. Carlson very much is a five. Like he's a legit 7-footer. He's got some skill. We'll see if he gets any run for the Thunder. But much like recently ons, he's on a fully non-guaranteed contract for 1 year. So what will happen with him is if they need to open that roster spot, if they want to go another direction, they'll waive him as well. And part of the reason they're doing it this way, can't sign 10-day contracts yet. Those don't start until January 5th. So it's still a month and a half or so away from those. So you do it this way, and it's just a way for them to get a little bit more size at the end of the bench. All things point to Hartenstein should be back within the next week or two. They also reportedly, he was spotted in a workout dunking hard with his left hand, and that's what's had him out. Was a broken left hand, so that's big for him to get back in there with that. I want to say this too while we're on the topic. Jalen Williams at the 5 is working really well, and clearly you're not going to turn this into, well, Jalen Williams is a 5 now. But what you probably can do now is, if you're Mark Daignault and the coaching staff, hey, let's run more stuff to get Jalen Williams switched onto 5s, right? Let's get it so that can happen, actually be the way we play. And you can do that on both ends now, right? We can have him being guarded by 5s where he can break them down and create, or we can actually feel a little bit better maybe about switching more and having picking up 5s. They were already doing some of that, but now you could do even more of it, which put Holmgren like in an off-ball help position or Hartenstein or whatever it may be. So that's kind of, again, I always talk about this with injuries. You want to take the lemons and make lemonade out of it. Thunder, they're making some pretty good lemonade right now with everything that they got going on.
Sweet.
Well done.
But they are, it's another arrow in the quiver now for the Thunder. Another thing they can turn to that, hey, we've got experience doing this now. And, maybe in the long run, this makes them stronger overall because they've got another counter that they can throw out there if a team is giving them an opportunity to do so.
Yep.
All right, let's go here. The Utah, man, Hendricks, that injury, awful. I mean, awful. But they're going to get a disabled player exception. Do you foresee them using this? And how big of an exception did it wind up being?
$2.9 million. So how the DPE works, disabled player exception, is it is for half the player's salary up to the equivalent amount of the non-taxpayer mid-level. So Hendricks makes about $5.8 million. So it was worth about $2.9 million. They have until March 10th to use it. It can be used to sign one player up to that $2.9 million amount for the rest of this season, to claim a player whose contract fits within that amount, or to trade for a player whose contract fits within that amount. Those amount of players are fairly low. You'd be talking a handful of rookie scale guys and guys on minimums, which minimum guys they could acquire via the minimum exception anyway. But it is a way that the Jazz can, just you get it. It's like you said, arrow in the quiver. I tend to call it a tool in the toolbox. You just want another tool, because who knows? Maybe you do want to use it at some point down the line, and maybe it turns into, hey, we can actually sign this guy to a little bit more money than we would have otherwise. The key thing is, though, it's only for the rest of this year, because the idea is the player, in this case, Taylor Hendricks, is out for the rest of this season. It's allowing you to get a replacement for that player for the rest of this season. That's it. You can't, go get somebody and be like, hey, let's give them a 3-year contract starting at $2.9 million. It doesn't work that way. And that's inclusive, even if it's a waived player or a trade player. They can't even have option years or non-guaranteed years. It has to be truly an ending contract.
Right. So that's something that there are some restrictions on this, but it doesn't hurt you to get it. It doesn't change anything for you. So you might as well have it. It may be that the Jazz don't use it. That's certainly possible, but it doesn't cost them anything to get it.
Exactly.
So it doesn't hurt you to get it. So might as well have it. And then you can use, if an opportunity comes up to use it, great. Then you're all set.
I've seen a couple people. It was funny. It was interesting. I saw it yesterday. Somebody asked related to the Lakers, was like, why have the Lakers not gotten one of these for Christian Wood or Jared Vanderbilt? You actually don't want that, because that means the only way you get it is if the player is deemed more likely than not to be out for the remainder of this season. Hendrick's case, we obviously know he's not coming back this year. We're just hopeful maybe the start of next year he can be back and fully ready to go. That's, the best case scenario there. You don't want that, because you don't want Wood or Vanderbilt to be out for the entirety of the season. That would not be a good thing in that case. For the Lakers, you want those guys to get back on the floor at some point. So so that's why you can't just ask anytime somebody's out. And this is different too than the hardship exception. Hardship exception is a roster spot exception that gives you an additional roster spot. The disabled player exception does not come with a roster spot. It is simply a signing exception. So that's another reason why the Jazz may not use it. They don't have an open roster spot right now, nor do they really project to have one unless they make some trades down the line. But we'll see where all that goes. We've got a couple months to still figure all that out.
Absolutely. All right. Well, there was a lot to catch up on from the weekend. We got a big week coming up. Again, Keith, we got that big Cavs and Celtics game. That one's going to be a lot of fun, and just some really fun games around the NBA. The NBA Cup tournament is already off and running. So it should be an exciting week around the league. All that is my way of saying, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any of it. Turn on those notifications as well. We'll be back tomorrow with all the latest around the NBA. Till then, everybody, see ya and stay safe.